Good day, everyone. Today, we will apply McCabe-Thiele with Murphree efficiency in an Excel. Basically, what we will gonna do here is put a lot of lines in one plot. And I already had this format prepared so I can easily input the data and plot it. So, I had this composition which is based from the more volatile component in the distillate, feed, and bottoms. I also calculated a value for alpha from the formula alpha is equals to y1x2 all over x1y2 and then get its average. I also assume a value for the minimum reflux ratio, Q, and the Murphree efficiency. The actual reflux ratio will be 1.5 times the minimum. Denominator is Q minus 1 and the slope is Q all over Q minus 1. I already input the values of X for the equilibrium curve. Same goes to the extended equilibrium. I just added some actual values here in the extended and you can notice it because they are written in red column. First, I will plot the 45 degrees line which will be the basis of our graph. It will start from point 0, to point 1,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So this is what the graph will look like.
Audio Jungle.
Then, I will now continue to do the Q line or the feed line. The initial X and Y will be equal to the composition in the X line.
Audio Jungle.
For the second value of X, we will just assume any number that will apply for the given Q.
Audio Jungle.
And for the second value of Y, we will use the formula Y is equals to the quantity of X2 minus XF times slope plus XF. Adding this to the plot,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
next thing to draw is the top section. The initial X and Y will be equal to the composition in the distillate.
Audio Jungle.
For the second value of X and Y, I will make use of the formula for the top section, which is Y is equals to R all over R plus 1 times X plus XD all over R plus 1. I will first assume that the value of X is 0. and then substitute it to the formula to get y. I can now use it to get the value for the top section slope and intercept. By this, I can get the value for the top section slope and for the top section intercept. And then I will now plot these values. So this is what the graph looks like after adding the top section. After that, I will proceed to the bottom section. The initial x and y will be equal to the composition in the bottom's x, W. Before calculating for the second value of x and y, I will need to find the value of a1, a2, b1, and b2 first. a1 is the slope of the top section, which is r all over r plus 1. a2 is the slope of the feed line, q all over q minus 1. b1 is the y-intercept of the top section, which is xd all over r plus 1. And b2 is the y-intercept of the feed line, negative xf all over q minus 1. The second value of x is equals to b2 minus b1 all over a1 minus a2. The second value of y, I will use the equation y is equals to a1x plus b1. I can now add the x and y's to the plot and get the value for the bottom section slope and bottom section intercept. This is what the graph looks like after adding the bottom section. Going off to the equilibrium curve, we need to compute first for the y values by using the formula y is equals to alpha x all over 1 minus the quantity of 1 minus alpha times x. I will just drag this down and it will automatically calculate for the other y's. Since we are done, we can now add it to the plot. Before proceeding further, I will edit the data so that the second value of Q line and top section will equal to the second value of the bottom section. I will also adjust it so the Excel will still work even though there is an undefined value.
Audio Jungle.
These are the changes that I made, and the graph appears like this now. For the slope, if the denominator is equal to 0, it will be undefined. Otherwise, slope is equal to q all over denominator. For the q line in y2, I put a condition here where if the denominator is equal to 0, y is equals to y2 of the top section. If x2 is equals to x1, y2 is equals to y1. Otherwise, y is equals to x2 minus xf times the slope plus xf. For x2, x2 will be equal to the x2 of the top section. And then for the top section, x2 is equals to the x2 of the bottom section. And then here, for the x of the bottom section, this can be interpreted as if B2 is undefined, then x is equal to the feed composition xf. But otherwise, x is equal to B2 minus B1 all over A1 minus A2. And now, I will further edit this graph, and later on, I will show you how it will look like. I will now continue in making the stages for the ideal equilibrium curve. For stage 1A, initially x and y is equal to the distinct composition x. The same y is used for the second value, and x is evaluated at using the formula x is equal to y all over alpha plus the quantity of 1 minus alpha times 1.
Audio Jungle.
For stage 1B, the initial x and y is equal to the last value of x and y in stage 1A. Then x will be the same, and for y, we will use various condition and formula. This can be interpreted as if the initial x is less than or equal to the bottom's composition, y will be equal to x. If the initial x is less than or equal to the second value of top section, y is equals to bottom section slope times x plus bottom section y-intercept. And otherwise, y is equals to the formula of the top section, which is r all over r plus 1 times x plus xd all over r plus 1. Same steps will be done to the next pages, and I will just copy this and paste. I will change the value of x and make it equal to the last x.
Audio Jungle.
I will also do the same thing for y.
Audio Jungle.
And then there you go. You can now just copy paste it and it will follow the same formula. I will now add this to the plot. So this is what the graph looks like after adding the stages of the ideal curve. The stages are drawn as dashed lines. Next up is for the actual equilibrium curve with Murphree efficiency. But before that, we need to solve first for y, ye prime, and ye. So we will begin for YE. The formula for YE is equals to alpha x all over 1 minus 1 minus alpha times x. So
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
and then I'll just drag this down and it will automatically compute for the other values. Next is y. The formula for y is equals to mx plus b. But the values of the slope and intercepts that we will use depends on some conditions. So I'll input the formula.
Audio Jungle.
So these are the conditions. If xe is less than or equal to the x2 of the top section, y is equals to bottom section slope times xe plus bottom section intercept. Otherwise, y is equals to top section slope times xe plus top section intercept. Next up is ye prime. In solving for ye prime, we will use this formula. So I'll just input the formula. So I'll just input the formula.
Audio Jungle.
Just like what I did for ye, I will just drag this down. And also this. So now we have the value for ye prime and xe. Ye prime will be our y and then xe will be our x, and we will plot here in the McCabe-Thiele diagram. The plot of the actual curve is shown as the broken line curve, and the x values are from the xe and the y values are from the ye prime. This time, I will proceed again in making stages for the actual equilibrium curve. This time, my initial x and y in stage 1A is the composition in the bottoms. And then, the second value of x will be the same. And for the second value, y2, it will use the formula y2 is equals to y1 plus the Murphree efficiency times the quantity of ye minus y1.
Audio Jungle.
For stage 1b, the last values of x and y from stage 1a will be used as its initial values. y2 is equals to y1. But to solve for x2, we will need certain formulas for certain conditions. This is the formula, and it can be interpreted as if the initial y1 is greater than or equal to the distillate composition, x2 will be equal to y2. If the initial y is less than or equal to the second value y2 of top section, x is equals to y minus the bottom section in y-intercept all over bottom section slope. Otherwise, x is equals to y minus top section y-intercept all over top section slope.
Audio Jungle.
I'll just copy this format and use it for the following stages. So, I'll
Audio Jungle.
copy and paste. And then, the initial values for x and y will be equal to the x and y values of the previous stage. So, equal this. And then equals to this. So now I can just copy paste it and will automatically give the corresponding value and use the formula like the other two.
Audio Jungle.
Now we can plot these stages in the figure. The actual stages are drawn as the green vertical and horizontal lines. Now I will try to alter some values and see what will be the effect on the diagram. So I will make 2, 1, and the distillate as 95%. We can observe that the position of the lines and its values changes along with the alterations that we make. Finally, we are now able to achieve a McCabe-Thiele diagram with Murphree efficiency.
Audio Jungle.
Thank you for listening.